Hi, I'm Tracy Sharman from Career and Technical Education, and today's podcast is CTE, Know Before You Go. I volunteered to take the lead because in my past life, I produced a radio show. So that's kind of something really cool that we're going to talk about is our past lives, because everyone in CTE has one. This podcast is for parents. And so I know as a parent of 3 children that in elementary school, I always felt really involved and there was always a place for me and something for me to do. And I think in middle school and high school, it's harder to tell where you fit in as a parent. So hopefully we'll let parents know where they fit in, because they still do. And they play a huge role in helping their students navigate through all the options in middle school and high school. So sit back and enjoy. And after all, what could be easier than reading with your ears, right? So that's what we're going to do today. I want to introduce you to Mark Reith and Katie Seward. Mark is our CTE director. Mark, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and your background?
Sure. Thanks, Tracy. I came to Vancouver Public Schools in 2016. I was hired as the director for Career and Tech Ed. Prior to that, I was at Mount Hood Community College. I was the Dean of Applied Technologies, so I actually oversaw community college programs in engineering, automotive, welding, and manufacturing. And then before that, I've actually been in the game of Career and Tech Ed for over 14 years. Prior to that point, I was down in Eugene, and I worked for a consortium of school districts down in the Eugene area, promoting Career and Tech Ed in local schools that involves all of the training and the workforce development and job shadows and the whole gambit of all that. But I guess a little bit about me and kind of why I'm here or what's passionate for me is I didn't take a traditional path either. So when I was in high school, I was on a college prep track. So my counselors just had an expectation that I was going to go to university, probably Oregon State University, go Beavers. But that didn't pan out for me. So I never took a vocational course or a CTE course. Didn't even know they really existed. But then I was left with, what do I do? I didn't have a plan for after high school, so I enlisted in the Air Force, and that's kind of where my work experience started. Again, not even knowing about careers in the Air Force, I took the ASVAB test, which is a standard test for aptitude, and the job I landed on was an aircraft electrician of all things. So that's where I started my career.
And the ASVAB helps identify skills that you're good at, right? And kind of gears you towards a job that you should be good at.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Your skills and aptitude, and then help gear you towards those. So that's where I started my work career, was in the U.S. Air Force. I was actually at McChord Air Force Base in Tacoma, Washington, and I worked on the big airplanes, just like commercial airplanes. And I did all the electrical systems and learned how to be a crew chief. So basically I learned from the nose to the tail, everything about an aircraft. And then after that, my career path has been interesting. I was in law enforcement for a while. I was a corrections deputy for Washington County Sheriff. I did that for a number of years. I also worked at UPS. I was a load supervisor at Gresham, so I kind of did that part. I manufactured trucks at Freightliner Truck Manufacturing, if you can believe all this, for as young as I am. And then another job I had is I worked in a mill. I worked at a Weyerhaeuser lumber mill for a number of years as well. So what I bring is really the passion for the work experience. I know what it is to work in industry. I know what some industry expectations are, and I know that there's an aging labor workforce too, and that we need to help guide kids, our students, to those possibilities in this world. So sorry, that's kind of a long story about my background, but again, I don't come from a traditional educational background, but what I do bring is a lot of experience in a lot of different career fields that I think can help give me perspective and help motivate our teachers and our students in these career paths.
For sure. And I think Career and Tech Ed, which is what CTE is, in case any of you didn't know, I know I mispronounced the acronym for a while. I think I said Career Technology Education, and I work in the department. So it's Career and Technical Education. But it's all about helping students explore in middle school and high school their interests, maybe before they get out there into the labor market and go into a field or pursue a college major that they're not interested in. So hoping to kind of narrow those options down before they get out of high school.
Exactly.
Katie Seward is our assistant CTE director. And Katie, why don't you tell us a little bit about your background?
Sure. I did come from a traditional training for education background. I took some career and technical education classes in high school. Coming from a small high school, we had lots of different options within family and consumer sciences and business and marketing, and participated in Future Homemakers of America as a leadership opportunity in high school.
It's kind of an outdated club, huh?
Right. It's now called Family, Career, and Community Leaders of America. But I went to Washington State University, go Cougs, and I set on the path for restaurant management. I thought I wanted to do that for a career. And then I started really enjoying human development classes and my psychology classes. And my advisor said, you know, have you ever thought about family and consumer science teaching? And I thought back to my high school, which was just, you know, a couple years prior to that. And I thought, absolutely, I could see myself being a family and consumer science teacher. So I switched my major, and throughout my training then at WSU, I did a teacher preparation program for teaching CTE. So I've been a CTE teacher for my whole career in Battleground and here in Vancouver.
I know we were going to talk about CTE teachers specifically, but what's special about a CTE teacher? How do they differ from a teacher taking a regular career path that knows they want to be a teacher when they enter college?
Well, I think Mark and I are exact examples of that. I went directly to university and I was trained to be a career and tech ed teacher, and Mark came from industry. And so there's a pathway that people can come from industry to become CTE teachers, or they can come from university. So a lot of our teachers in our district are have come from industry. They have the background in the actual field that they worked in, and then they come back and go through a program that is a teacher preparation program specifically for people from industry.
Okay.
So it takes your background as an accountant or an engineer or a phlebotomist or anything in the career fields, and then it teaches you how to then put that together with classroom management and curriculum, instructional strategies, and then you can be endorsed in Washington State to teach career and technical ed teachers. So that's what's unique about our programs, is that when our middle and high school students are taking a class, you know, they're learning it from somebody who potentially spent many years in the industry in that field.
Yeah, and something that's really cool about CTE is we send our teachers to industry during the summer to work 40-hour experiences in teacher externships. So if our photo teacher, they'll go out and they'll work with a photographer for a week, and we pay them for that, and so that they understand current industry trends and what's happening and what equipment they're using.
Sure, because there are examples of teachers that are CTE teachers that have been teaching for 15, 20 years, and it's possible for them to get out of touch with what industry standards are. So through and we'll talk about this later, we have advisory committees, which are local employers to help us, but still for them to get back out in industry and see what's relevant and what's now really helps skill them up to bring that back to the classroom. It's super valuable.
Right on. Are CTE classes, career and tech ed classes, are they like the old vocational ed classes? What you think about, you know, like your shop teacher or your ag teacher? Is it the same today as it was back in the day?
Yeah, my answer is yes and no. The yes part would be they're still very closely tied to our local economy, and I think that was the case way back. Is that it was trying to train students for the opportunity to go to work in their local industry, and that might have just been the farming industry, 100 years ago. So we still have those. They're still tied to careers, but I would say the level of education or training of our teachers and the technology and the equipment they're light years ahead. So for example, we have horticulture classes or programs in our district, and instead of just regular growing and traditional watering systems, they now use urban farming and hydroponics. So that's 21st century farming is what that is. So that's a whole new level of instruction for our kids. Another great example is manufacturing. Manual mill, manual lathe used to be the industry standard, and it still is, but now we have CAD design, so computer-aided drawing and designing is a big piece of it, and then what they call CNC milling, which is computer numerical control. So there's actually coding that comes into practice now versus just putting a piece of metal on the lathe and turning it. So yes and no is my answer.
Yeah, and if I am taking CTE courses, does that mean I'm not going to college?
Definitely not. I think that's quite the opposite, actually, because CTE provides career-based instruction for multiple different career fields. And we all know that our students are going to end up in a career. So career and technical education is appropriate for all students. And really, within our pathways, there are different careers that require different levels of education after high school. So you'll see, we'll talk in a few minutes about our big 6 career fields. And so for health science, as an example, some students might be going in to be a veterinarian or a doctor or a nurse, which may require a 4-year degree, but then there are multiple different career opportunities within that same healthcare field that require less than a 4-year degree. And so we would definitely say that CTE and a lot of it is really good for every student.
Absolutely. When can a student start taking CTE classes?
We offer courses at the middle school as well as the high school. Really kind of exploratory, but a neat thing too, and as a district we're moving towards this too, is we're trying to create more exploration even in the elementary level. So in partnership with some of the other training agencies around, we're trying to bring project-based learning in spots to our elementary schools, and really what that does is it finds a real-world problem or something that the students can engage in to fix or to make better, and then trying to bring employers in to help them guide that work. So they're getting exposed at elementary, and then in middle school we have programs around technology, STEM technology, and video and computer coding that are available at middle school. And then in the high school, again, we'll talk about that a little more, but we have all kinds of great programs and individual classes that they can take to support their career education.
And as a parent, the way you can get involved in CTE is you can volunteer your services for some of these guest speaking events that we have in the classroom. We just had something really cool at the middle schools, which was our computer science classes in the middle schools. We had it's called Sim Outreach, and we match a professional in the tech industry with a college kid at WSU, and they come out and talk to the classroom about their career path and how to build an app and how to get where they are. So really just showing them kind of what's possible with that computer science background.
Sure, I would just add to that too that most all of our parents are employed somewhere.
Yes.
So they have a story to tell, and not just to their student, but other students can benefit from that story as well. So teachers are always eager and welcome to have parents come in and speak to classes, or to support, or even to maybe talk within the organization to see if they could have some level of support too. So parents are integral.
And I think Alki just had a college and career fair, or maybe it was just a career field, and one of the middle schoolers said this person came in and they were a fireman and they were talking about their middle school experience, and they're okay, so I know I'm going to be okay. So it really speaks to kids when people are talking to them that don't have to and aren't getting paid for it.
Right.
So we love our volunteers. What types of CTE programs do our high schools offer?
We have worked really hard to create what we're calling career pathways. And in these pathways, we have what we're calling our big six. And in this grouping, there's 6 large categories with smaller programs within each. So in some areas that I have some supervision of, one is agriculture and natural resources, and those are kind of self-explanatory. Those are the 2 programs that live there. But we also have one that's industrial engineering, and that is where our construction, our trades, our computer science, and our pre-engineering programs live, so in that cluster area. Then we also have a new large cluster that we're calling digital and visual communications. And this is something we're trying to encourage, where a student might not only be in a track of only photo or only graphic design or only video, but the industry folks are telling us that for them to have a piece of several of those together, that skill set that's combined is really where the marketplace is now. So students will take 1 year of video and a year of photo, and then maybe the 3rd year is a focus back on what they want, or they would take graphic design. So really it's about concentrating in those different areas.
And I want to say, yes, one of the teachers that did a teacher externship during the summer kind of learned that. I think he was doing it in graphic design or photo, and he said, hey, we don't just need this one skill in this field. If a person, and same within radio, if they're doing this, they're also doing video, and they're editing sound, and they're taking pictures. So a lot of different components came together. Katie, what are the other clusters?
The other 3 that I can share a little bit about, one is human services, and that's kind of a field that has a lot of different pathways within it. Education and training is one, so preparing our future teachers. ECE, early childhood education, opportunities to provide childcare. American Sign Language and other language translations and interpretations. And then culinary arts also falls within the human services.
It's a big category.
Health science is the other one. That's very self-explanatory. It really is just all encompassing, the health field. And then we also have business and marketing that helps students identify opportunities within business and finance and marketing. So within those big 6, hopefully there's something for everyone.
Yeah,
Yes.
and some of these sound familiar from our magnet applications being open. Do you have to apply to be in a CTE class?
Some, like Tracy, you just mentioned about the magnet application, some of them do require an application to participate. Otherwise, most programs are open to all students. In fact, all students in high school have to take 1 credit of CTE, and so they do need to select at least 1 credit, which is a full year-long class, or 2 semester classes.
And when do they do that, and how can parents get involved in selecting or helping students select their classes?
Well, that's a good question, and it's very timely. The forecasting actually just started on Monday this week, and so students right now are working in their classes, pulling up Career Cruising, which is the platform that we use, and students will be developing their 4-year plan and identifying the classes that they want to take.
And I know most of the schools have the counselors come out and talk to the, they probably all have the counselors come out and help the kids forecast. And then parents can get involved by talking to the high school or middle school counselor as well if they want to, or looking at that Career Cruising. Is that available to parents?
Yes, students can give parents access to their Career Cruising account. I would encourage parents to just have a conversation with their student about, so I understand you're forecasting and you're planning and looking at classes for next year, and they can have a conversation about what they're looking at and what they're thinking about taking.
Right, now give me your password.
Yeah, exactly.
The goal is that students are taking classes that are really thoughtful, that within Career Cruising, the platform, students take career assessments and they identify careers of interest, and they identify their plan after high school. Are they going to go to university, or are they looking at a 2-year college? And then the goal is that they would plan classes around that so that everything makes sense with what the student is planning to do. So parent communication and collaboration in that is really important.
For sure. How are CTE classes different than the other classes that are offered at schools?
As we said, Career and Tech Ed is really based around career exploration. So many of the projects are going to be project-based, they're going to be hands-on, they'll be relevant to the industry or the world in some way. And then they will be aligned to industry. So all of our CTE programs we're required to have industry standard equipment for students to learn on. So with our software and hardware and equipment and the skills that students are learning, it should be based on the industry so that students are prepared to enter into the field.
So our culinary arts program, there's a kitchen, there's a Passport Cafe here at the district office that we get a benefit from. The welding lab has equipment. Other examples, we have the state-of-the-art photo equipment, I know for sure. So all real hands-on activities. Can I earn college credit in high school through CTE classes?
Yes, we do have lots of opportunities for students to earn college credit. There's a statewide system for CTE students to earn college credit through CTE dual credit opportunities. And basically the process is that the high school submits an application to the college for consideration, and they look at the courses that are offered in the high school, and they determine if they're equivalent to the courses at the college.
Okay.
And if they are, then an agreement is put into place with that college between the high school and the college. And then students are able to earn college credit by taking their high school course. Typically, students need to have a B or better in the course in order to qualify for the college credit. And then the process is just basically coordinated by the teacher and the career specialist. So once the student enrolls in the high school course, they're led through the process of registering for the college credit. And then the teacher will post the grade, whatever grade the student gets. And if it's a B or better, then they would be eligible.
And I can speak to that because Career Choices is one of the classes that CTE offers, and we have a curriculum that goes with Career Choices that is about developing soft skills and creating a resume, maybe doing some mock interviews, and then we set the kid loose into an employer for an unpaid internship experience with a work site, which is another great way that parents and employers can get involved in CTE. And so then if the student, by meeting the benchmarks that we set at that internship, meets all those qualifications or requirements, they'll gets a B or better, then they will get high school credit and college credit for that.
Yes, and we have current partnerships with Clark College, Lower Community College, Mount Hood Community College, Clackamas Community College. So we have a lot of partnerships in this field, and it's actually a big initiative in Mark's leadership to increase the number of credits that we provide. And what they will do is the credits get kind of held into space until the student needs to put them on their college transcript. So they're there, they've been earned, they are going to be directly from either Clark College or LCC or Mount Hood, but the student will just then go to that college and say, I'd like to go ahead and transcribe the 3 credits I earned or the 5 credits I earned, or some of our programs earn even up to 20 college credits.
I was going to make sure you talked about that. So something of note too, and Katie spoke to this, is what we're asking of our teachers and our programs is that every one of our CT programs that we mentioned, we want them to be a series of courses, so they scaffold. So the rigor and the that piece increases over time, but that they lead to an early college credit. So we want them to be aligned with some type of post-secondary, whether that's a community college, or we do have alignment with some apprenticeship programs now too in our construction and manufacturing programs. And we want them to be tied or have the opportunity to earn an industry credential as well, so that our students are prepared when they leave, that they have credits toward that next step, whatever that might be. And then another thing we're trying to do in partnership with our colleges is we find a lot of times a student might go to a community college and they take their technical courses, but they might not take their math course or their writing course, and then they don't complete at the college level. And we want them to complete. So we're working really hard with our basic ed folks to where now there's an opportunity where a student can earn their math credit that they need for an associate's degree at a community college in high school.
Wow.
So they can do that. They need to talk to their counselor about that. There's several opportunities. The career choices class that you talked about meets a humanities requirement in the degree program. And then we're working to develop a technical writing class. So a student can leave high school with some early college credits in their program. They can also have their math credit, their humanities credit, and their writing credit done before they ever step foot on campus, which will just help them to become a completer and get into that next level paying job.
You know what the best part is?
What?
Most of the time it's free.
Yep.
Yeah,
Most of the time it's free for the students. So they're earning lots and lots of college credits and building a pathway for free.
Absolutely.
And did you hear that, parents? Free.
Free.
We love free. I think we talked about what's special about the CTE teachers. That's our timer. We've
Harry
done
Potter.
20 minutes. Look at that.
Good job. We thought we might have 5 minutes.
So much material to cover. I think we talked about Governor Inslee's initiative to really connect career-connected learning to the classroom, or that's something that's a big initiative for Washington State. How is CTE going about that?
Well, we have some data on that. And the big thing is when Governor Inslee launched this, one of the crisis really that he's trying to address is that over the next 5 years, they're projecting there'll be 740,000 positions that need to be filled. I mean, that's a huge number. And just a small piece of that, there's a 5-year goal in Washington that we provide 100,000 Washington high school students with some type of career-connected learning experience. Okay. So really, we're not even meeting the need. I mean, with the increase in the economy and the productions taking off, as well as the retirements, so they call it the silver tsunami, I've heard it called. There's a wave of folks that are getting ready to retire. And if they do that, there might not be new jobs or expansion, but just replacing those retired folks, it's a big deal. And a lot of these, a majority of these are in the skilled labor areas, where a student could, with some type of post-secondary training, jump into a job that's going to provide them a living wage, and not just minimum wage. We're talking a living wage. And so that's what we're trying to really connect kids with those. And in it, some of the things we're trying to do, and we'll put it in 3 buckets. We call it awareness, exploration, and preparation. Right. So the awareness piece, that's where we're talking about supporting career fairs, classroom speakers, site visits, some of that elementary stuff where they're just getting some early exposure to what careers are and what that might look like. And then from elementary, showing them in middle school that they can dig a little deeper and maybe get on a track, whether it's a STEM-related field or something like that. But the next step would be the exploration, and that's where we're taking a little step deeper in the pond, and that's the job shadow, the mock interview, some of that speed networking, some of those kind of deeper dives into that exploration piece. And then finally the preparation. And that's really where we would like our programs to be in their 3rd year. So if they're in that sequence of course, that maybe not only are they in a class that's really digging deep and they're earning an industry credential, but maybe they also have that career choices class, right? So they have the opportunity to actually have an internship in their area of focus so that they can get that idea. And one thing that we're finding too, and it's not all the time, but a lot of times employers might be a little hesitant to bring a young person into the workplace, but once they give them a shot and they come in and they get a chance to see them and see how dependable they can be and the level of professionalism that they have, a lot of times they'll hire them. So trying to set those students up in the spring of their senior year to have that internship, so that might launch them into part-time work in the summer as they take their next step, and then maybe keep part-time employment while they're going to school to get that industry certification, or maybe it's an apprenticeship program so they get hired full-time till they enter their program, and then they're launched.
And I love that CTE, we just don't talk the talk. That's why my job was created, to help employers figure out how they can have students and how they can come to our classrooms. So we help employers figure out an internship program or an externship program or ways to get involved with our students. And then we're also having, which reminds me of, we're having a employer workshop that to address internships. So that's going to be on April 25th, and that's at Barnes & Noble, and it's going to be in the morning at 9 a.m., and we're going to have labor and industries out there because, like you say, there's a lot of hesitancy about bringing in 16, 17-year-olds into the workforce, and especially in unpaid positions because our internships are unpaid. And so L&I is going to answer all of those questions about liabilities and the law and prohibited work duties. So it's going to be very informational. So we encourage everyone out there that's interested in getting an intern to come out, or if you're interested in having your student intern to come out to Barnes & Noble on April 25th.
So this is an acronym check. You said L&I.
Oh, there we go.
That folks might not know what that means.
Labor and Industries. Thank you, Mark.
And they're really the governing body for all of this. I mean, the employers have to work through them, and really it's about protection of workers' rights. So that's why they're so important, and employers really count on what they say. Mm-hmm. So if L&I is going to send a message that here are some ways that you can bring these young people onto your work site and safely have them do some work, then that's what employers are going to hear and they're going to value.
Yeah.
So thank you. Hey, can you do me another for Tracy? You talked about these things that we're doing, and I know you were instrumental in a really creative way to get employer participation, and we're calling it flipped internships.
Oh, yeah.
So can you just give a quick little blurb on an example of one of our flipped internships?
So instead of sending one kid out to a work site where they're going to work for 90 hours and get a cool experience because they're on the work site, we're having the work site come out to the classroom. So recently at Fort, for their welding and fabrication lab, we had Northwest HPEC and Silicon Forest, which basically sits in Fort's backyard, both manufacturing organizations, come out and teach the kids, not only teach, but show them how to integrate lean practices into the lab. So they were out there for 5 days, every period, going through with each of the students from every period how to think in Lean Six terms and bring that into the classroom, and they did a whole revamp of the lab. So it was really cool. It was very hands-on, and so instead of just one kid going out, that program got 120 kids involved, and so it's really a win-win. And so other ideas for flipped internships is that we have an employer, I go out and I meet with the employer and find out maybe a past project that they've done that we can recreate in the classroom or something similar that we can do. And it doesn't take a big time commitment. It can be as little or as much as they want. So they can come out once every other week. They can send out different people. They can send out different departments. So we had a flipped internship with Frito-Lay at Hudson's Bay, and they came out.
Talk about that.
Yeah, and they did. What was cool about Frito-Lay's was they had the kids compete and create a chip flavor, but then they also sent out their HR people to say, this is our application, this is how you fill it out, and this is how you might want to think about filling out other employers' applications to get them to think outside of the box. Mm-hmm. And they did mock interviews and just a real good rounding of the soft skills needed in the workforce today. And Jason also, the plant manager out there at Frito-Lay, told him, if you're walking behind me when I go to interview you, I'm not going to hire you. You need to keep up. So it was a good little job tip.
Sure.
Tell me how CTE knows what skills employers are looking for, and how do we decide then to teach them in the classroom, or how do we teach them in the classroom?
Well, I think our advisory committees are huge in that regard. Each one of our big 6 career fields has an advisory committee made up of industry folks and post-secondary partners and students and parents and multiple different perspectives about what that program should look like in terms of staying up with industry skills and having the right equipment that we need in our programs. So our advisory boards are really critical.
Yeah, I think a great example of that is in our engineering tech. We just had an advisory meeting, and again, this is another place for parents you might be able to get involved because we always welcome more employers on this advisory group. And we don't meet a lot, and it's not a lot of your time, but what you have and what you can bring to the table is really valuable to us. But so in this engineering tech, and they're doing pre-engineering programs, one of the things that the lead teacher is asking is, what are some projects that we can do, or how can we, so here's the standards that we have to meet, right, around design and maybe structure and those kind of things. What are some things that we can do in the classroom that might mimic what they're going to do on the job site? Mm-hmm. And so we have folks from HP and we have folks from Clark Public Utilities, and they're in there and they're actually helping them develop curriculum. Mm-hmm. So the projects that they have and what equipment they might need to design and do those things. So really that's an example of what you as an employer can pass on to the teacher that, again, directly touches the students and gives them a real world taste of what they're going to experience out there. So again, huge. Without employers, really our programs are irrelevant. Mm-hmm. And that's in combination to what you talked about, the externship. So I would love to see every one of our teachers, every couple of years do an externship just to refresh and see what's in there, what's the equipment out there. Because again, every year we have some money through the great model of funding through the state of Washington, which we're appreciative of, is we have some money to help support these programs. And if teachers don't know what industry trends are, then when I say, hey, we have some funding to help elevate your program, what do you need? They go, I need another printer. It's like, well, no, we don't want another printer. What we want is a laser engraver, and just because they use it at HP to do X, Y, Z, and that's going to really elevate our students. So again, that's another example of them making sure they are aware of what's happening in industry.
And HP was a great extern partner, and they took 2 of our teachers last summer, so we hope to do more with them. And they gave them some great ideas for classroom curriculum.
Yep.
What other things are going on in CTE? We're having a college and career fair on March 19th, and that's open to all middle school and high school parents and students. And we're hoping for the middle school kids, it's about career exploration. We're going to have over 70 colleges and career representatives there, so a good and it won't just be colleges, right, Katie? Who else is going to be there as far as post-secondary education?
Well, our goal in CTE is to really make sure that students and parents are aware of the multiple different pathways after high school. So you can look at a certificate or degree program that takes a year or less. You can look at a community college, which is a 2-year program. You can look at a 4-year university. You can consider an apprenticeship. So we'll have all of those different options, multiple different representatives from those programs there to talk to. And we'll also have local employers from our 6 big areas will be there to help talk about career pathway and opportunity within their particular field, and maybe share their pathway and how they got to their particular career. Then we'll have a couple breakout sessions as well, so parents can come and learn about the transition into high school. Mm-hmm. They can learn a little bit about financial aid and their award letter, because award letters are coming in from financial aid, so we can support figuring out what that actually means. And then we'll have another one on college planning and preparation. So come to find information. That's the goal. And there will be a light dinner provided, chili and cornbread.
Yes, that's
nice.
March 19th from 5:30 to 7 at Roosevelt Elementary School, and we're gearing it towards parents, even job seekers, so there will be people hiring, and you can find out more. Vancouver Public Schools is one that's hiring, actually. I know our bus drivers are looking for people, and our HR, para-educators, so there will be opportunities for parents who are job seekers as well, because you have to have 5 years experience to be a bus driver in VPS, so that wouldn't apply to any high school students. Let's see, so we talked about the Employers Unpaid Workshop at Barnes & Noble on April 25th, and that'll be at 9 a.m. with light refreshments served, and we're partnering with Partners in Careers and Barnes & Noble on that, so we're grateful for those partnerships. And what's on the horizon for CTE, Mark? Let's wrap it up.
Okay, good. Well, I was going to mention one thing first, and that is when you talked about what's different about CTE courses than other traditional courses, is that there's a requirement that there's a leadership component in every one of our classes. And in every one of our programs. So as part of that, there are state-recognized organizations, student leadership organizations, and this is the time where they're putting it on, right? So there's regional, state, and then trying to qualify for national competitions. So we have DECA, which is the organization that's used in business and marketing. We have students that are preparing to go to Florida actually for the national competition in that area. We have Skills USA, which is the gambit. This is where our culinary folks do their thing, our video production and construction's involved. They're preparing for their state competition the end of April, so hopefully we'll get a couple students that qualify for nationals in Louisville there. And then our FFA, Future Farmers of America, they're in the state competition area right now. And what's neat about that is last year we actually sent a team from Hudson's Bay High School to nationals, and they did really well. So that's a big part for them. The kids really get excited about that. It's a great way to showcase their professionalism, their 21st century skills, as well as some technical skills. So that's all happening right now.
And as a parent, I'm like, well, how do my kids find out about that? How do they get involved in a CTSO, being Skills USA or DECA or what's Future Farmers of America?
They can always talk to their CTE teacher, but also all of our all of our high schools have career specialists, and so they are kind of a great point person to talk about all things career and college readiness. So they can talk about scholarships and financial aid support. They can talk about applications to colleges. They can talk about leadership clubs. They can talk about Cascadia Technical Academy. So I would start with your teacher and potentially your career specialist to find out about opportunities in your in your school.
Great. And then other things on the horizon?
Yeah, I'll mention a couple things. So as far as expansion goes, we piloted a new program this year at one of our middle schools, and we're calling it a STEM Exploration Lab. And the idea behind it is that a student can take a semester class or a year-long class, and they rotate through different modules focused on different career fields. And they're only 10-day modules, so it's a 10-day rotation, but they might spend time in health careers, and then they also might spend time in engineering careers. They might spend some time in construction careers. So they get that chance to do that. And we piloted in one high school or middle school this year, and we're going to move to 2 other middle schools next year. So students are going to have that opportunity. And the beauty behind that, I think, is they're going to be able to find out what their passion might be and just get a taste of what there might be. And then they can forecast into it, either through our magnet program. They could go to a school, say culinary. Maybe that they really get on fire around that, and they can know that as a freshman, I want to forecast and go to the Fort program, or it might be something like that. So that's exciting. In the trades area, kind of exciting news. We are in the beginning stages of working with Cascadia Tech and our local workforce folks and an apprenticeship program to start and develop a youth apprenticeship program. And we're hoping that might launch this spring and have an opportunity for students to be involved in it next year. So they would get basically hired by an employer for work over the summer and then do their education and further training throughout next school year. So it's not final yet, but we're working towards developing that. So that'll be an exciting opportunity for our students. And in addition to, around that apprenticeship push, we are on the docket to get approval in April with LNI again and through our apprenticeship board.
Labor and Industry.
Yeah, Labor and Industry. Around our program at Hudson's Bay High School. So in the ACES Magnet, a big component of that is our building construction program. And we are partnered with the trades program as well as with the programs in Washington, but we are on the cusp of being approved as a state-recognized apprenticeship preparation program. So that will become official hopefully in April.
Vancouver Public Schools is all about choices, and as you can see, CTE is all about helping kids find that right career pathway and giving them different opportunities and exposure to different things. You can like us on our Facebook page at VPS_CTE or follow us on Twitter. And I just want to thank Mark Reith, our CTE director, and Katie Seward, our assistant CTE director, for being with us today in CTE. Know before you go.
Thank you, Tracy.